June 4th, 1942, 0930 hours. Midway Atoll. The sky is a harsh, blinding blue, broken only by the shadow of incoming Japanese dive bombers. You can almost feel the heat of the sun on your neck and the roar of aircraft engines drowning out everything else. The USS Yorktown rocks under the sudden blast. A bomb slams into the flight deck, tearing steel and splintering wood. Smoke rises in thick black columns, acrid and choking. Sailors scream, alarms wail, fire hoses pump water, but the flames seem endless. Chief Petty Officer Earl Stone runs amid the chaos, sweat and soot mixing on his face. Metal plates hang loose above him, wiring sparks under the deck. He grabs a welding torch as the carrier quivers violently with each impact. Around him, men carry wounded comrades, drag hoses, and shout over the din. The Yorktown tilts. Water from nearby firefighting efforts sloshes across the deck. The engine room trembles beneath your feet. The ship isn't just damaged, it's bleeding. Every bulkhead tells a story of metal ripped, systems fried, and lives at stake. Stone climbs into the bowels of the carrier, to the engine room. Pipes burst, valves twist under pressure, pumps stutter and stall. You can almost hear the groan of the hull resisting the weight of its own injuries. A lieutenant yells over the roar, "We're losing power to the port turbines!" Stone doesn't hesitate. His hands move with frantic precision. Sparks fly as he repairs the torn electrical lines, patches ruptured pipes with makeshift fittings, improvises when parts are missing. Every second counts. Every failure could mean the loss of the Yorktown, the heart of the fleet. From above, the Japanese pilots circle, dive after dive, releasing ordnance on the already wounded carrier. Explosions echo through steel corridors, fires spread along the flight deck. Yet inside, Stone and his team work feverishly, ignoring smoke, ignoring flames, ignoring exhaustion. Hours pass like minutes. The carrier creaks, hull plating warps. You can almost smell the searing heat of metal and the metallic tang of fear. Yet against the odds, systems flicker back to life. Pumps prime, turbines spin, damage control parties clear debris. Then the impossible happens. Stone radios the bridge. "Engine stable, we can move under our own power." But the battle isn't over. The Yorktown is still a target. Japanese commanders assume she is finished. They do not yet realize that within 72 hours, this battered giant will rise again. Stone looks around the engine room, face smeared with soot, exhaustion etched into every line. He knows the crew has done something remarkable, but the real test is yet to come. The Yorktown might float, but can she fight? The sun has set over Midway, but the USS Yorktown is far from resting. Smoke still curls from gaping holes on the flight deck, and small fires smolder stubbornly, their orange glow reflecting off twisted steel. You can almost hear the metal groaning under the weight of damage and waves. Chief Petty Officer Earl Stone doesn't stop. Around him, men work in silence, punctuated only by the occasional clang of tools and the hiss of welding torches. Every bolt, every pipe, every wire must be inspected, repaired, or replaced. Failure is not an option. Lives, the fleet, the Pacific Theater, all hang in the balance. Stone crouches over a ruptured fuel line. The nozzle has shattered, there is no replacement. He improvises with steel tubing, hose clamps, and raw determination. Sparks fly as he tightens the makeshift connection, and for a moment, everything threatens to ignite. Sweat runs down his brow, his fingers are raw, but the pump roars back to life. Nearby, sailors shift heavy machinery, balancing precariously on warped floors. They replace damaged boilers, reroute severed electrical lines, and jury-rig hydraulics. It feels like building a ship from scraps while the sea itself is trying to pull it apart. Stone moves from compartment to compartment, his presence a steadying force. Every man around him knows the impossibility of the task. Engineers estimate repairs would take weeks, but Stone has 72 hours. 72 hours to make the Yorktown battle-ready again. At one point, a structural beam buckles under pressure. Stone yells for reinforcements. 3 men leap into the smoky chamber, supporting the beam as welding torches lick the steel. Sparks fly, illuminating the grim determination on every face. The room vibrates with the pulse of diesel engines and distant explosions. Stone pauses to check the propulsion system. Turbines are partially operational but unstable. He recalibrates valves, reroutes power, and monitors pressure gauges with almost surgical precision. Sweat and grime streak his face, but his eyes are steady, focused. Hours stretch into night, night into dawn, yet Stone and his crew work tirelessly, improvising solutions to impossible problems. Every repaired system brings hope, but also the looming question, will it be enough to survive another encounter? Outside, Japanese reconnaissance planes circle. Their shadows glide across the damaged deck, unaware that this carrier, deemed destroyed, is still alive, still moving, still breathing under the guidance of one man's determination. Stone leans against a pipe, taking a brief moment to look around. The Yorktown is battered, scarred, but not dead. The impossible is happening. And if she returns to battle, the enemy will be in for a shock they never expected. The morning light cuts through smoke and haze as the USS Yorktown lurches slightly under its own power. You can almost feel the tension in every deck plate, every gun turret. The carrier is alive, but barely. Systems are patched, engines humming unevenly, fire-scarred decks groaning with each wave. Chief Petty Officer Earl Stone moves quickly from compartment to compartment, clipboard in hand, shouting instructions over the din. His voice is sharp, commanding, yet calm enough to steady the men around him. Every repair is a gamble. Every system restored could be the difference between survival and sinking. Below deck, sailors wrestle with a jammed elevator carrying aircraft to the flight deck. Hydraulic lines burst, releasing a hiss of steam that stings lungs and eyes. Stone dives in, splicing hoses together with wire and clamps salvaged from damaged machinery. Sparks light up the dark, narrow space. For a moment, it looks impossible, but the elevator jolts back to life. Above deck, aviation crews inspect planes still lined up in scorched rows. Many are damaged beyond repair, but a few are patched and refueled. Every functional aircraft increases the carrier's fighting power. Every disabled one, a reminder of how thin the margin between success and disaster is. Stone glances at the horizon. Smoke from distant Japanese reconnaissance planes drift across the ocean. Every hour counts. Every delay is another risk. They have 72 hours, not a second more. Engineers report another problem. One of the main turbines is overheating. If it fails, the Yorktown will be dead in the water. Stone moves into the engine room, feeling the heat, smelling the acrid smoke. His hands fly over valves and gauges, improvising solutions with pipe fittings, copper wire, and sheer willpower. Sailors work in teams, passing tools and materials up narrow ladders, shouting orders, wiping sweat and soot from each other's faces. Stone watches, correcting mistakes, encouraging improvisation. Every repair is small, incremental, but the sum of them is monumental. As night falls, the carrier rocks more violently. Storm swells combined with the ship's weakened structure, forcing men to cling to rails and machinery. Stone refuses to leave the engine room, standing in the midst of hissing steam and flashing lights, aware that the smallest miscalculation could end everything. Finally, a systems check. Propulsion stable, elevators operational, flight deck partially cleared, weapons partially operational. Not perfect, but enough. The impossible repair is nearly complete. Stone exhales, eyes scanning the horizon. The Japanese believe the Yorktown is sunk. They do not know she will fight again. And when she does, it will change the battle at Midway in ways no one could have anticipated. June 6, 1942. Dawn breaks over the Pacific, the horizon painted in pale orange and gray. You can almost hear the ocean sighing beneath the battered hull of the USS Yorktown. Smoke still lingers from repairs, twisting lazily into the morning sky, as if reluctant to leave the wounded carrier behind. Chief Petty Officer Earl Stone stands on the edge of the flight deck, watching mechanics perform final checks on the patched-up aircraft. Every plane that takes off is a testament to hours of sweat, sparks, and improvisation. You can feel the tension in the air, men waiting, engines revving, eyes scanning the clouds for the first sign of Japanese planes. Below deck, sailors tighten bolts on gun mounts, recalibrate radar, and inspect the damaged elevators one last time. Each movement is precise, almost ritualistic, as if aware that the fate of the carrier and perhaps the Pacific campaign depends on their efficiency. Stone moves to the bridge. The captain nods at him, a silent acknowledgement of what has been achieved. The ship is far from perfect, but she is mobile. She can fight. She can strike. And that strikes fear into Japanese commanders who had written the Yorktown off as a loss. Aircraft roar to life on the flight deck. Pilots run to their planes, checking instruments, strapping in, signaling readiness. You can almost feel the adrenaline pulsing through the sailors and airmen alike. The carrier trembles under their weight, alive with energy and determination. Then the first Japanese reconnaissance plane appears on the horizon. Smoke, fire, and desperation from days prior are replaced with confidence and calculated anticipation. The pilots and crew of the Yorktown are ready to prove the impossible is possible. Stone watches from the deck as the first planes launch. Each one slices through the morning haze, engines screaming, propellers churning the warm Pacific air. They carry bombs, fuel, and hope. The last, the most crucial, a product of the impossible repairs made by a few determined men in dark, steaming engine rooms. Below, mechanics continue to monitor systems, ready to respond instantly to any failure. Every repaired engine, every patched fuel line, every welded turbine could mean the difference between victory and total destruction. And then, word comes across the radio. The Japanese fleet is approaching faster than expected, unaware that the Yorktown, once crippled, is back in the fight. Stone's eyes narrow. He knows what this means. The battle for Midway is far from over, and the Yorktown is about to prove that sheer ingenuity, courage, and relentless determination can defy the odds. But the cost has been high. The carrier is wounded, her crew exhausted, and the enemy remains relentless. The next hours will test every repair, every improvisation, and every ounce of courage the crew has left. The morning sun strikes the glinting Pacific waters as USS Yorktown steams toward the incoming Japanese fleet. The carrier rocks under the swell, a wounded giant moving with purpose. You can almost hear the hum of engines and the tense rhythm of sailors' footsteps across steel decks. Every hand on board knows what hangs in the balance, victory or annihilation. Chief Petty Officer Earl Stone stands near the engine room hatch, scanning gauges, ready to respond to any failure. His face is streaked with soot and salt, eyes sharp, muscles tense. The impossible repairs he orchestrated are now being tested under the harshest conditions imaginable. On deck, aircraft roar as they take off in rapid succession. Fighters, dive bombers, and torpedo planes surge into the sky, their engines screaming over the wind. Sailors crane their necks upward, hearts pounding. Every launch carries not just bombs, but the hope of turning the tide of the Pacific War. Then the first Japanese plane dives toward Midway, met by American pilots and anti-aircraft fire. Flak bursts across the sky like jagged fireworks. You can almost feel the tension in every gunner's arms, every pilot's grip on the joystick. The carrier rocks as near misses rattle the deck, but the engines, turbines, and systems hold steady. Below deck, mechanics direct adjustments to propulsion and power distribution, responding instantly to the carrier's movements. Every repaired turbine hums under pressure. Every jury-rigged system proves its worth. The impossible repair is no longer theory, it is reality, propelling the Yorktown into battle. Airplanes return from strikes, some damaged, some with casualties, but most intact. Deck crews rush to refuel, rearm, and launch them again. It's a relentless cycle, a testament to human endurance and ingenuity. Each launch brings new hope, each return signals the stakes of failure. The Japanese fleet, expecting a crippled carrier, is caught off guard. Their assumptions about the Yorktown's destruction crumble as waves of American aircraft attack. Bombs drop, torpedoes strike, and chaos erupts aboard enemy ships. You can almost feel the shock and disbelief among Japanese commanders as their plans unravel. Stone stands silent for a moment, watching the flurry of activity. Exhaustion weighs heavily on him, but he knows the significance. The impossible repair not only saved a ship, it saved a fleet. It gave the United States Navy the edge it desperately needed. As smoke rises from the distant horizon, the Yorktown continues to move forward, engines humming, aircraft launching, sailors holding the line. The impossible has been achieved. One man's determination and ingenuity have kept a carrier in action, changing the course of history at Midway. And yet, the battle is not over. Every system, every repair, every decision in the next hours will determine whether the Yorktown can survive the relentless fury of war. The smoke clears over Midway. Waves lap gently against the hull of the USS Yorktown, but the carrier is far from untouched. Decks are scarred, engines are patched, and every bulkhead tells the story of hours spent fighting not just the enemy, but the limits of machinery and human endurance. Chief Petty Officer Earl Stone walks the flight deck at dawn, inspecting the results of his frantic work. Burn marks still stain the metal. Hoses patched with wire and clamps snake across the compartments. He pauses, letting the enormity of what has been accomplished sink in. Every turbine humming beneath him, every repaired engine, every plane that took off, it is all proof that determination can bend even the harshest odds. Below deck, sailors check gauges, refuel planes, and ready weapons. Exhaustion hangs heavy, but there is purpose in their movements. The Yorktown, once written off as lost, is now a symbol of resilience and ingenuity. It is now no longer a ship, it is a statement. News reaches the bridge. Japanese forces have been repelled in key sectors. The assumptions of their commanders, that the carrier was gone, that the U.S. fleet was weakened, have proven disastrously wrong. Midway will not fall today. The Pacific campaign shifts because one man refused to accept impossibility. Stone looks out over the water, the rising sun glinting on the horizon. In the distance, aircraft carriers and battleships form the silhouette of a fleet renewed, strengthened by the life that flows once more through the Yorktown. He knows this victory is fragile. The war continues. Machines will break. Men will fall. But for now, against all odds, the impossible repair has kept history in motion. The Yorktown will sail again, launching planes that strike decisive blows, altering the course of the Pacific War. And years later, when historians study Midway, they will note the bombs, the planes, the strategy, but they will not forget the quiet heroism of the men in the engine rooms, welding,
clamping, patching, and refusing to surrender to inevitability. Errol Stone's name may not appear in every history book, but the carrier's survival, the lives saved, and the victory at Midway are his legacy. Every hiss of steam, every roar of the turbines, every plane launched from the battered deck is a tribute to that single impossible act of determination. And somewhere deep in the engine room, you can almost hear the quiet echo of a man who refused to accept defeat, proving that sometimes the survival of history itself rests on the hands of one determined mechanic.